1992, Star Trek The Next Generation, Melinda Kulea, guest star. She was from the A-Team originally. Season 5, Episode 17, The Outcast. Live long and prosper. So for the past few years, particularly in America and Europe and Western cultures, we have seen the dialectic of Marxism expand out of the economic realm, becoming popularized in everything from race to gender, the same completely fictitious, polarizing narratives, completely made up mythos, now applied not purely to economics, but to things like gender, race, etc., and the damage and destruction that it does to everything it touches, as it always has. Now, I'm bringing this up now because whenever I am bored in between things that I'm watching on purpose, that I maybe want to review, being a lifelong Trekker, whenever I have downtime in between, I'm always watching old Star Treks. The original series, Deep Space Nine, Voyager, you name it. I'm on The Next Generation. Today I happen to run across the episode, The Outcast. This is a perfect example right here of what has happened in the years since The Outcast and now. So quick synopsis, the Janai, who are an androgynous species that have no gender, need help from Starfleet, in the course of which Commander Riker, who finds women all over the galaxy, manages to attract a Janai who is secretly female, being considered a genetic throwback to a time when her species had two genders. Of course, there's discussion about gender being looked down on in the androgynous culture because it's considered primitive and a throwback. Of course, there's a story about somebody being beaten up because they found out they were different, which always happens in every culture. It happened to me as a kid for being the type of person that would wear this uniform on a video. Nevertheless, the story unfolds that, of course, she is a she, and she is in love with Commander Riker, like every alien woman that we meet on the show, for the most part. They made sure Picard got a few girlfriends. But in the fine tradition of James T. Kirk, it's William T. Riker, and the lady falls in love with him, and of course there's the big struggle of the truth comes out, and her people want to fix her with psychotechnic treatments, send her to a facility to straighten her out, essentially give her conversion therapy, and make her normal in the parameters of their society. And Riker goes with Worf's help to try to steal this woman away from her culture and her home planet in flagrant violation of the Prime Directive, etc., because love conquers all in a very good Kirk, Riker-ish, later Janeway-ish way. Forget the Prime Directive when you're passionate about something. So here's the crazy part about The Outcast. Apparently, it speaks to the Marxist crowd about gender stuff now on Earth under the Marxist dialectic. For some reason, they think that this is more of that proof that people like me were never really Star Trek fans if we don't get this or that or that. But The Outcast had nothing to do with that. Like, seriously? The Outcast has nothing to do with that. In good Star Trek fashion, The Outcast presents us with an extraterrestrial species whose nature is different, who we get hundreds of examples throughout the course of all the series of, and our learning to adjust, see through the eyes of those people, to see through the eyes of the crew, and to deal with the peculiarity of an extraterrestrial culture. Now, certainly, yes, there is couched in that the inevitable lesson about people who are different should not be mistreated. But at the end of this, she's from a species that it is perfectly natural for them to be androgynous. We are from a species on this planet Earth that is naturally male or female, and there are only two sexes and two genders natural to us. And that is the underlying message throughout the whole show, as the one who is a throwback and interested in being female learns all about the differences between men and women in our culture, male and female in our culture, and in most cultures in Star Trek, because that's what's perfectly natural for us, for Klingons, for Vulcans, for etc. It's never implied, never discussed, never suggested that any of these unnatural aberrations should be considered normal among us, or that there even exists any of these things outside of the figment of someone's imagination or mental illness. And most shockingly, this is really throws me, at the end of the episode, she is fixed. Despite all of her eloquent speech in court about wanting to be what she is, and that, oh, it's just because I'm different, I should be allowed to be different. And the court mercifully fixes her. So that by the time Riker and Worf go to rescue her from her native culture in violation of the Prime Directive, and therefore the foundational principles of real Star Trek, by the way, she does not want to go. She's very apologetic. It feels terrible about what it has done, pulling Riker into this problem in its life, because it has been medically repaired and straightened out and is now androgynous and is normal for the species it comes from. Imagine that. And yet somehow this is one of many Star Trek episodes from the past that are cited as some sort of justification for Marxist ideology. I think the other really funny one I saw was just a meme, and it included a picture of Starfleet scant uniform from, I think, the first 4 seasons. We saw some examples of scant uniform, which sort of looks like skirts or skirts or what, I can't even say it. That sort of looks like shorts, but it's sort of a skirt. And it was used for male and female use within the crew. But that was about changing dress styles and what was considered appropriate. It was never a commentary on those crew members' gender, sexuality, or lack of gender. It was just literally, it was a goofy looking uniform that I guess if you felt confident enough about your pale legs, you could wear around the ship. Anyway, I'm sure I'll come across some other examples that really stand out, but since I'm just literally finishing up the Outcast episode, like, it just, everything about it drives home the absolute foolish stupidity or intentional dishonesty of people that are citing that episode as something to do with Star Trek promoting perversion and depravity and unnatural behavior in some fashion. All right, the Outcast. That's the end of my rant for this evening. Peace and long life. Leave any comments below. We'll see you next time.
I'm so sorry. It was my fault that you got involved in all this. That I was sick. I had these terrible urges, and that is why I reached out to you.